Hello again. My name is Alfie Smith, and I am going to be teaching you Open G today. This is Introduction to Open G, and then we'll do a 1-4-5, and then we'll do a 1-4-1-5, I should say, and then I'll be teaching you a 1-5-1-4 in Open G. I've also have three other lessons out there. Introduction to D. 1-4-1-5 in D, and then a 1-5-1-4 in D. Please watch those first. There's a few tips and tricks that will be usable on this. My goal was to have them into little chapters, and that way you don't have to watch a full, hour and a half, 2 hour lesson, because it's a lot to take in. And that way you can go back to which part you want to learn and you can focus on it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go from Open D, where I am currently, and we're going to change the guitar to Open G. So I find it helpful to start when you're doing that, because that way it's easy to go from D to G, because three of the strings are exactly the same. All your Ds are where they're supposed to be. So your E is already a D. Your A is what it should be in standard, but you're taking that A and making it a G. Your D string, which is your natural, where it should be, stays the same. You have an F sharp on your G string currently, and we're going to put that back to G, which is its natural home. And then the B string currently is an A, and we're going to bring that up to B, where it should be, both natural and Open G. And your high E string is currently in D, and it'll stay there for Open G. So right now we're Open D. So you make sure that your first string is in the right place. Then we're going to take your A string and put it down to G. And like I've said before, make sure you go up to the note. So you go past and up. Modern tuners are supposed to be good enough not to need to do that, but I like having the gear engaged just out of habit, and I find guitars hold tune better when you do that. I don't know if it's because it's in the right place. Your string won't bind up as much in the nut, but it's what I like to do. See, it binds a bit and then goes right. Oh, that's not nice. The nut needs to have some pencil lead in there. It helps make the string move back and forth more properly. So your F sharp, goes to G. Your A, which normally should be a B, goes up to B. So D, B, G, D, G, D. So again, D, G, D, G, B, D. Something I haven't mentioned yet is this guitar. I'm lucky enough to own this for the last few years. This is a 1935 National, made of steel. It's a beautiful guitar. It's in relatively great shape. I shouldn't say great shape, because it looks like it's been played a lot, and it's a little rusty here and there. But when I'm 85, I hope to, if I'm in half as good a condition as this, I'll be very happy. And this is what they call a biscuit. a biscuit cone. So there is a wooden biscuit made out of maple that sits on an aluminum cone underneath this cover plate. These guitars were originally invented in the 1920s and 30s, before amplifiers and PAs were commonly used, and it was so guitar players could be heard in an orchestra and on larger vaudevillian stages. And the original people that invented it, George Beauchamp had the idea. He was a performer and he wanted to be louder, so he went to the Dopera brothers, who were more of mechanical inventors. I believe they were making banjos at the time. And he came up with this idea, and he said, hey, maybe we could put like a speaker and have the strings run on it. And he said, can you make it work? And so they got together and they designed it. And then they had a falling out, as people do. Originally it was 3 cones, which was a tricone. And so that's what they originally did. And then they also did a single cone, which was more of a budget line, because it was easier to make. And they had a falling out, and they separated, and that's what started the Dobro Company and the National Company. The National Company was the original, started by George Beauchamp, like I said, and the Dopera brothers. But then they had a falling out, and the Dopera brothers left and started Dobro, because the Dopera brothers, Dobro, and National went on to its own sort of thing. And then eventually the Dopera brothers bought National back, and they started making everything under their own brand. And George Beauchamp went on to work with Rickenbacker, who was already next door and was actually making some of the bodies for National. And they sort of started making the first production electric guitars. So it's interesting that one guy came up with the idea for this and also had a lot to do with the first production electric guitars. And I don't think George Beauchamp gets as much credit as the Dopera brothers, because Dobro is such a household name, not unlike Kleenex. And if someone says, hey, oh, that's a nice Dobro, I very quickly correct them. This is a National, not a Dobro. Not that there's anything wrong with Dobros. I like Dobros. They have a different tone. But this is a National style biscuit guitar. And the chords, there's an interesting thing. Please watch chapter 1, 2, and 3 first, because I talk about some tricks that are in the first 3 that are transferable here, rather than just have to repeat them again. It's better if you watch them first. And I did the chapters, and that way you can jump back and forth and go where you want to go. But there's a neat trick. The chords that I taught you in open D are transferable to open G. And you just have to move them down towards the ground 1 string. So your E7 was there, which is kind of like your 4 chord, right? All you have to do is move it down 1 string, so it's like an A minor 7, I guess. And that becomes your 4 chord, which is an open G, your open chord. That's a G, and you're going to be playing off the 5th string this time. In open D, you play off the D string, because that's your root. On the open 5th string, that becomes your root in open G. So your chords are, that's your C, which is your 4 chord. And then to play your 5 chord, which is D in the key of G, so it's G, C, D. All you do is take your middle finger and you move it down 1 string again. So it's kind of like a half of a D7 shape. I don't know if you can see that there. That's a D7. That's half a D7. So your middle finger is on the 3rd string, and your first finger is on the 2nd string. And that is your D. So there's your C, there's your D. All right? So, and the nice thing is, In open D, you pretty much use the third, fifth, seventh, and 12th frets. Coincidentally, in open G, you use the third, fifth, seventh, and 12th frets mostly. You can use other ones too, and I do, but those are the ones that you use the most in blues. So everything is somewhat transferable. What you have to do is move your slide down a bit. So, like I say, you're going to be playing off the 5th string opposed to the 6th string now, because except when you play the D chord. When you play the D chord, you can play the 6th string, because that is now your root of D, which is your 5 chord in this progression. So I'll just play just sort of like the introduction to the next song we're going to be working. Oh, and I forgot, the 1 chord, you can either play open, but I like to use this sort of F shape. So you start with your F shape, which is on your 2nd string on the 1st fret, your 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and then your 3rd fret on the 4th string. And you slide that all the way up to the 3rd and 5th fret. And that's what we'll be teaching you in the 5th video. Sorry. So I'll be back momentarily. The next door neighbor is doing some construction, so I'll be teaching the rest of these lessons in a little bit. Thanks so much for watching.